I don't think any religious person has gotten it right, so much so that they have privileged information over the rest of us. What I think is you have beliefs in a particular God, and then that God is defined in a particular type of way. So when Obama says, "So help me God," that's not going to work. That's really not going to help him at all. It's really the people of the United States, right, and the rest of the world. That's what's going to make the world a better place. What often divides us are our definitions of God, and you don't belong to the same club that I do. You believe in what? Oh, no, not that type of God. No, you're not in the club. We believe God does X, Y, and Z. You believe God does A, B, and C. You're wrong. And some people will take this to extremes, of course, and I don't have to remind you of the atrocities that religious belief can generate. Now, do I expect you folks to be so fundamental in your beliefs of God that you would actually harm others in doing so? I hope not, right? I really hope not. Because if you would, you really need to seriously consider the presuppositions underlying your entire belief structure. Because I don't know what kind of faith you can have in any kind of religion that would say it's really not a bad idea to hurt other people who don't think the same way as you. And I can't imagine Christianity really maintaining that view with any kind of consistency. I'm sure Dr. Craig would not think that that was a consistent idea, or any religion. And yet we've just had 8 years of our neighbors to the south, of which Dr. Craig is a citizen, of a man who ruled the free world and had one of the most skewed concepts of Christianity I have ever witnessed in my life. I just don't recall in any of the Gospels where it was ever said, "And if so inclined, invade foreign lands for their natural resources and kill lots of people while you're doing it." I don't ever remember Jesus saying that. I must have missed school that day. But it just, Mr. Bush is not a good Christian. He's not a very good Christian at all. Now, Dr. Craig's understanding of God, basically defined as a particular interpretation of a Christian God, really does not matter because it doesn't exist. I think that's the point that we have to get clear about tonight. So I find it epistemically irresponsible to believe in the existence of his or any definition of God. And any of the valuable ideas from biblical scriptures or any supposed holy text can be realized through really humanly conceived and developed ideas, morals, and values. In other words, we do not need gods to justify or give weight to values, as Dr. Craig maintains, without absolute. We really have a world without meaning and whatnot. No, maybe at the absolute level, of course, I would agree with you. Maybe there is no absolute value system to which we can base all of our actions upon. Maybe it doesn't exist. Maybe there's no ultimate right and wrong about certain types of actions. And I can understand why that would scare some people. Because some people will feel, well, all is permitted then. If God doesn't exist, then all is permitted. We can do whatever we want. I don't know what some people's concepts of atheists are. Do I just have like 24-hour-long, orgies and I juggle kittens on fire and, I don't know what your conception of a God, of a godless person is. I will make it clear. It'll come up in later slides, but I might as well tell you now. I'm an agtheist, which is a term I invented, which is sufficiently ugly enough that nobody else has come up with. And it's a hybrid of agnosticism and atheism. Okay? I'm an atheist to all world religions. I don't believe any of you have it right. And I defy you to demonstrate that to me without contradiction or inconsistency. But I'm an agnostic when it comes to whether or not the universe was intended to be. To that, none of us can answer. We all must be agnostic. I live my life as though I will bracket that idea of whether or not it was intended to be. And if it's intended, then something has had the power to generate it to come into existence. I live my life as though it wasn't intended, or it doesn't matter either way. And I just try to figure out the best possible way I can live my life. I just try to think, How am I going to be a good person? How am I going to be compassionate and care for others within the confines and constraints that act upon me each and every day? Dr. Craig is talking about values. How good are your values? Are you a good Christian? Are you a good Muslim? A good Jew or a good Hindu? What does that mean? What happens when a young woman, very successful, living in Forest Hill in Toronto, doctor, walks into the St. Clair subway station with her 6-month-old and jumps in front of a subway? She dies, the 6-month-old dies. Now, how could she do this? How could she do this? If you want to kill yourself, that's one thing, but why take the child? Right? How horrible is that? And then we find out this woman was postpartum psychotic. It's a little bit different than just being postpartum depressed. Given the odds of the number of women here tonight, at least one of you will be diagnosed with postpartum depression, at least, if not postpartum psychosis. You will want to harm your child. You will wonder why you have these feelings. Why do you have these thoughts? And if you are religious, it is really going to mess you up because you are not going to be able to justify it in any way. Now, this is a product of neuroendocrine processes within your brain of which you have very little control. How can you live by values if you yourself don't have the physical constraint, the power, the free will by which to choose otherwise? So let's be careful here tonight. Let's be very careful about how we define values, absolute knowledge, these very lofty ideals. I would love them. I would love them. I would love to know what they are. And in the words of Cuba Gooding Jr., to Tom Cruise, that I might say to Dr. Craig, show me the money. Right? If you can show me the evidence, then I will be forced to believe you. And we all will. I don't believe that's going to happen tonight. God does not matter because God does not exist. At least the gods that we have defined according to organized religion. So, should God somehow exist in some way, hitherto unknown to me, I have no real tangible evidence or reason to believe in such a God. However, should that appear, maybe even tonight, maybe even with what Dr. Craig will say in the next few minutes, I'm willing to change my mind. But I am not going to hold my breath. Thank you.